Okay, so what we have done so far up to this point is to add a servlet called Publish News Item Service that is configured to respond to requests coming into this URL pattern, publish. And what happens is that the connecting client is going to submit information about a news article on the web that should be added to the news item list, or the news feed system or server called, in our case it's called Publisher. And so we have here the we implemented this web service using a do post method here. That means the connecting client will submit the information about the news item to publish through an HTTP post request. We have it here. This is, as you can see, the connecting client provides us with an XML document with the information in it, the title of the news article, the link that links to the news article. I think that's all we have there, so we don't have description or anything else. Adding description and so on, that'll probably be an exercise. Now what we need to do is configure the client to actually connect to that web service and submit the information. So that's inside the wiki application. As you can see here, we have a servlet that publishes items to the newsfeed service. So when we submit here, what happens is when this application is running, we click Publish here, and as you can see down the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, that's the URL that is invoked. And it's a little easier to see from a named page. As you can see, the name of the page follows that URL pattern, publish. When this is clicked, what we have is a do get method comes in, and you'll see, and then we go to the same servlet, this publish servlet, the servlet that's wired to this URL pattern /publish. We go to this same servlet, but this time, if you look at the page source, you'll see that we're going to submit this confirmation information through a post request. Publish and cancel are both processed in this way. So you see that this is where do post runs here, and we pull the information out here, and what happens is we invoke the web service in this block of code, and as you can see, we do it right here. It's not right there actually, it's down here. We call publish, we put the logic to invoke the web service in a separate private method called publish. Here it is. As you can see, we're just returning, when we submit the information to the server to publish, that the server turns around and gives us an ID that the news item will be represented by. In this case, we just hard-coded 3 in there. We need to replace that by the actual ID returned by the web service. Let's go ahead and see the code to do this. There it is. Here's the block of logic that does all of this. So I'm going to simply replace this method with that new block of logic. going to need to, first I'm going to clean everything up here. Let me go ahead and, no, that's not it. It's not Control F. It must be Control Shift F. There it is. Sax Builder. Let's, once again, where are we? We're inside the publisher service. I'm sorry, the wiki. And in the wiki, we do not have the JDOM library, which is what we're going to be using here. It's not one of the jar files that are in the web folder. It doesn't appear under reference libraries. So let's go ahead and get that. We have the JDOM library in the publisher application. Let's grab it from there. Here it is, jdom.jar. I'm going to copy this. There's other ways of doing this. We can make the library global to all loaded web applications, and that's an alternative. We could have done it like that. So we're going to paste this in here, but we're just by putting it under the web lib folder, the classes in this jar file are exposed only to the wiki application. So as you can see here, we dropped the jar file in the lib folder, but it doesn't automatically become a reference library in the build process. It's loadable during runtime. So the class loader will search in the Tomcat class loader will search through the lib folder under WebINF and search for class definitions when they're needed. So it's in the runtime class path, but it's not in the build time class path. We need to add it to the build time class path by right-clicking here and adding to the build path. There we go. Now it is in the runtime. It is in the build time class path as well as the runtime class path. Alright, let's go ahead and resolve these issues here. So the Sax Builder, let's organize imports, and we should be resolving to this JDOM library. So org.jdom.document, and this is input stream. Well, it's going to be this one, Java IO input stream, and org.jdom.element right at the top, output stream java.io.output stream. That's all finished there. Save it. No build errors. Looks good. And so now we'll be invoking the web service. Now this is an explanation of what's going on here. There's a lot to read. There's a lot to study, and a lot of experimentation that you really need to do to comprehend what's going on. And so here the text is explaining how to verify that what we have created so far is in fact working correctly. Let's go ahead and do that. So we have 3 applications. We'll go to the hello page. We're going to publish the hello page. We're going to view it in the publisher application and see it show up in the website. Let's go ahead and do that. Now before we do all that, we have modified the web.xml file for the the publisher application. So we're going to need to stop the publisher application and start it again. Let's check for errors here. That looks good. And in the wiki application, we modified a servlet. So all we need to do there is reload. Let's go ahead. It's of course safe to stop and start. That's a stronger way to reload, but we can just click reload on that. And although Tomcat, the behavior of Tomcat may have changed, but in previous versions of Tomcat, to read the web.xml file, reload is not sufficient. You have to stop and start. That's why I stopped and started the publisher application because we modified the deployment descriptor, the web XML file. But I did not do that for the wiki application because we did not modify its deployment descriptor. We only modified one of its servlets. Okay, let's go ahead and carry out the experiment now. Here we have, well, I'm going to cancel that one. Here's our hello page. We're going to test publish. And here's our website. And let's open up one more tab here. The publisher application. And I think I need to add something like list news items. Here it is. How to do this in order. So here we're going to publish, see that it appears in our list of news items, and then see how the change propagates through to our website. So we have 3 collaborating applications. The other place that we should check is the database. And I'm going to open up the command prompt and do that. And let's see. The database is called Publisher. That's the one that actually there's two databases that we want to look at. So if we look at the tables in Publisher, there it is, news item. This is probably too much information. So the news item has an ID, so we should see something added to that. But you know, I'm going to open up yet another window here, another command prompt. And I'm going to look at the wiki application. And let's look at the tables in there. There's a page table. But now it's hard to look at the page table because it has so much information. This field, this content field is large. So when we do the examine this, we're going to look at published and published ID, these 2 fields. So let's do that. Let's select name, comma, published, comma, published ID from page. Alright. Oh, look at this. The database here, it shows that the nameless page actually has a published ID of 3. So we never set that back. In our test code inserted a 3 in there. And we could reset that actually. Let's go ahead and do that. Let's go to the database and rerun this. So we're going to recreate the publisher database. Whoops, that's not what we wanted. We want to recreate the wiki database. That was a mistake, although it doesn't matter. Alright, so let's go ahead and run that. Look for error messages, no problem. And this is the same. That's great. And now we should have the published ID should now be null for the nameless page, and it is. Alright, this is we've reset our applications to kind of the original test state by running the 2 Ant build scripts to reconstruct the databases. Alright, now we're going to go for the test. Actually, based on our new database, we should probably reload these pages, right? Because we changed the database. There we go. So we've reloaded all of them. Now we're going to test. We're going to click Publish, We'll test both publish and cancel. Let's first test publish. And we have an error. Alright, what is the error? Content is not allowed in prologue. Oh, that's a that is an issue. As you can see here, this is a JDOM parse exception. And I'm looking at these root causes. Content is not allowed in the prologue. So it's complaining about the format of the XML document that we're passing. And as you can see, the publisher page servlet here is complaining. Content is not allowed in the prologue. So this is on publish. What is going on here? This is let's go ahead and look at this. Is line 97 in do post under publisher page servlet. Let's take a look at that. So here's publisher page servlet, and this is where publish is run. This is line 106. Did I say 97, right? So in here. So what actually we call it here, and we throw the exception, we catch it here. Let me check that again. I see this exception here was if you look at it, this exception is comes from this exception down here. So here we call publish. So this is giving information about, you know, that this is where the exception was thrown here under do post. So we see that right there. Actually, it's here, right? It's this is the exception, this runtime exception that's thrown. But it's when it throws the exception, it came from this line, and I know that because the root clause here shows the line number 166 inside publish. So do post ended up calling publish, and publish through an exception. Now if you look down here, do post called publish, and publish called build on the Sax builder, which called build on this Sax builder, and this method through an exception, and this method, if you go back you'll see the full stack traces here. This publish called these builds and so on, and the call propagated down to this point right there, and this is where the things all started from. But we don't have control of those underlying layers. We can investigate what's going on at this point, line 166 and publish. Let's find that. So it's complaining about the here it is right there. So this this is where the problem is. When we call this method build, if you see, let's look at what's going on. We're reading through the header line, so we're trying to process the return value. And so actually we sent the information out here. We construct this is the information that we're going to send to the publisher application, the page name and the page URL. So we pull the page name out of the page object. Here we construct the URL. We're using localhost, by the way. That's why it's only for testing purposes. In a real application, you have to change this to the real URL of the externally available host. Alright, let's take a look here. So here we're constructing the XML document that we're sending to the server. And we come down through here. This is where we create a socket connection here to the server that's that has the web service running on it, and we send it the information called flush. Get every last byte written out, and once that's done, see the information being submitted using the HTTP protocol, which is a request response protocol. So we write out the request side of the transaction, and now we need to read in the response side. And this is where the problem is. When we can read in the information here, but when we pass the information into this class right here, it says Sax Builder class, an instance of that class, that class is trying to parse the information as an XML document. And it's complaining, it's saying that content is not allowed in the prologue. And the prologue is that part of the XML document that precedes the XML element. So I think what's happening is the server is not returning a valid XML document, and I have a feeling that it's actually returning some kind of an exception. So we can test that. We can look at the log file. Let's guess which one that we want to look at here. So my hypothesis at this point is that the data, the XML data that's being sent to publisher is good, but the publisher, or maybe not good, but it's a valid XML document. This is my hypothesis, but the publisher, there's an exception being thrown on the publisher side, and it's returning the exception text rather than the XML document. So let's look at the log file for the publisher application. And it looks okay to me. I don't see any error. So that's not a problem. Alright, let's look at something else. Let's look at we sent the information to the publisher to publish a new document. Did I actually get through? Let's see. If I refresh this, let's see if it gets onto the list. It is not onto the list. So I think it would have, I believe that failed. Let's look in the main log here. I don't see any error messages there. And this log watcher shows no problem on the publisher side. And on the, of course, on the wiki side, we already know the issue there. Actually, I don't see. There it is. There's the exception right there. But publisher doesn't show a problem. And oh, look at this, the security filter. We needed to have opened up. See, I have been skipping stuff in my book. And I think the security filter is not letting the request pass through. Let's take a look at that. Here's publisher. Let's look at the configuration for security. And if you look down here, that this part of the security is where the login is is done over HTTPS. We encrypt the password during login, and here we configure a security filter. Right, so this is a filter, and this is the filter mapping. So this servlet here is probably not letting the request go through because the wiki is not logged in with the publisher application. So let's let that come through. So let's see. Let's go ahead and look at this. Here's our security filters in here, and here it is. So see, this is the problem right here. We allow access to the news feed, but we don't allow access to the publishing. Let's see if I actually mentioned that in the book. I probably did, and I skipped over it. Let's take a look here. Try to find that quickly. There it is, right here. Under the previous chapter, we just didn't. We were lazy. We didn't read the book, and now it's catching up to us. So, in fact, but we were able to analyze it. What's going on there? See, we allow in this when the filter runs here. So we could see here we're allowing every request that comes into the publisher application is subject to the security filter. And we see here, we look for anything that matches this, and we say, okay, if it's matching /login, we let it in. If it's a request for the news list, let's let it in. All other functionality requires authentication, which we're not doing. So we need to add an exception. We need to add another exception here. And if the request coming in is for /publish, we let it through. Let's go ahead and try that. So we save the security filter, and let's go ahead and restart that particular application. That is called Wiki. Is that right? No, publisher. So we're going to reload that one. But I want to check something here. This is the wiki application. So it's still, there's no published ID in there. That's fine. Just see that everything is in line here. Good. So everything is the original state. Alright, let's try it again. We're going to publish. Are you sure? Publish. Oh, we didn't get an error message. Let's go and to the publisher application. I'm going to refresh this. There it is. That's our hello page. We can follow that link. It shows that the title of the news item is hello. This is the URL. We could test the link by following. There it is. And let's see that it propagates through to our website application. There it is. It goes now links to our wiki. So we have 3 collaborating applications. This is the wiki. If we look at our page table, we'll see that the hello page now has a 1 in the published field, which represents Boolean true. And although it's an integer in database data type, and the published ID is 1000, which is computed and returned by the publisher application. Let's look at the publisher application. We should see an additional news item. There it is, and its ID is 1000. So new items that we create, we started numbering them from 1000. The items that we inserted manually with our test scripts, we started those primary keys with the low numbers. So that pretty much finishes up this section on invocation of the publish service from the wiki application. And I basically, went through a debugging a process, and I'm going to upload this video with all that extra time spent doing that, so that you can see what's involved in tracking down these types of problems. These types of problems that we had when we tried solving this exercise.